Aloha once again, friends and family. Let's go on ahead and pick it up at the events of 2017. As stated earlier, the comet Anunnaki is scheduled to make a pass through the solar system in the year 2017. While this is a predestined event, there are several variables that depend on human free will and the assistance or interference of positively or negatively oriented ET races. You will recall that during the time of Lemuria, negatively polarized ETs were able to slightly alter the path of this comet, causing a significant increase in the destructive effects on Earth. The factors that vary are as follows. 1. The actual path of the comet. 2. The severity of the influence. 3. Humans' emotional and mental experience of this event. 4. The level of cellular mutation of humans during this event. 5. The degree of instability of Earth's climate and environment. 6. Disruptions of technology and telecommunications. 7. The influence of Nibiru. In about 2030, the planetoid Nibiru is scheduled to make its 3,600-year pass through the solar system. Like the comet, this event can be influenced by free will. There are 5D through 9D humanoid and non-humanoid beings residing in the etheric and celestial levels of Nibiru. Some of the more telepathic of your race will likely make contact with them during the passage. Members of their race, commonly called Anunnaki, have influenced the evolution of humans many times in the past. Several members of their race came to Earth during the last two passages and instructed the struggling humans in how to better their conditions. The presence of the Anunnaki two passages ago is documented in the record of the Sumerians and Egypt around 5200 BC. Their presence is later Egypt. In latter Egypt is also documented from the most recent passage around 1600 BC. The Anunnaki have come repeatedly to Earth for brief intervals of time to help humans recover from various maladies. We will not detail their involvement in other passages. There is a lot of negative press regarding the Anunnaki. Like all races, there are variations in consciousness from one member to another among them. And certainly there have been some Anunnaki who have made decisions that turned out to aggravate the pain and suffering of humans. However, may we remind you that like attracts alike in the lower four densities, and in order for humans to have a negative experience of another race, there must be negativity present on some level within the consciousness of those humans. There will be some humans who will use the passage of Nibiru and the distortions in the EM field that result to create a third wave of ascension. Likewise, some humans will use this event as an accelerator to cycle out of incarnation. We will not detail the variables for Nibiru like we did for the precessional cycle and Anunnaki. Suffice to say that they are similar. There is a great deal of information regarding the Anunnaki available from other sources, including the Sitchin series of books, and so we will not elaborate on the Nibiru society or their system of councils and high priesthoods, nor will we detail the subtle and obvious influences they have had upon humanity. Instead, we will focus on the precessional cycle and galactic shift and their effects on your Earth. In summary, your experience of predestined events will be largely determined by free will. You have the free will to embrace the divine principles of love, cooperation, harmony, compassion, trust, and selfless service. Doing so will greatly enhance your experience of these events. This can be a time of liberation rather than enslavement, death, and destruction. The choice is yours, beloved creators. Prelude to the galactic shift. A more significant event is taking place upon your Earth and within the entire solar system, more significant than the precessional alignment or the passage of Anunnaki and Nibiru. This is the galactic shift. In preparation for our in-depth discussion of the galactic shift in the next chapter, we will introduce some ideas regarding the effect of EM field fluctuations on heavenly bodies such as Earth. The mechanics of a precessional alignment of 2012. Before we discuss the effects of the galactic shift, we will detail the EM changes to expect during the precessional cycle of 2012. There is a bit of science involved here, and we apologize in advance to those of you who are not scientifically oriented. Please bear with us. We will now speak on the relationship between the precession of the Earth's axis and the changes to the electromagnetic field of your Earth. This is a fairly complicated topic, and we ask you to read and digest this carefully. We will do our best to keep things simple, hence we will go as slowly as possible for maximum comprehension. Please forgive us if we repeat this in various slightly different ways after you have already comprehended it. All planetary bodies in this local universe are electromagnetic, EM in nature. In the works of your metaphysical scientist David Wilcock, there is a description of the toroidal nature of planets and planetoids. A torus is similar to a spherical donut with holes connecting the magnetic poles of the planet or planetoid. Imagine the Earth shaped slightly like a pear with a core hole drilled from pole to pole, similar to the way a machine can take the core out of a piece of fruit. The EM energy of the Earth moves through this channel between the poles, then out and about the external surface at the major and minor grid lines. The convergence material of Mr. Wilcock gives some diagrams of this. You can also look up discussions on EM fields of your internet and find diagrams of the EM field of Earth using the torus model. Shortly, we will also refer you to a diagram furnished by the government. Now imagine that the EM field that goes through the core of the torus between the poles also extends outward into space in both directions, up from the North Pole into space and down from the South Pole into space. Remember, of course, that we are using the words up and down to illustrate a point, and that nothing of the sort actually exists except in relation to each other. Next, imagine that the beam of EM energy emanating from the core of the torus, pole to pole slice of Earth, going out into space periodically links up with EM sources out in space. In other words, a specific EM pulse of energy emanating from a distant star will beam a burst of energy through space that at times exactly lines up with the core of the Earth. The EM beam emanating out from Earth also receives energy moving in toward the poles from outer space. Okay, we promised to go slowly. We have just begun this description. Let us use another analogy in order that you might comprehend this more fully. Imagine that you had a set of children's toys made out of wood or plastic. One of these toys looks like a round ball with a hole drilled from one side to the other. If you go outside on a sunny day and hold the ball up to the sun and look through it, you will see the rays of the sun shining through the corridor formed by the drilled hole. However, if the poles of the ball are not lined up just right, you will not see the sunlight coming through it. There, how's that for simplicity? We think you all got that analogy. The next thing is to picture the Earth spinning like an off-centered top or gyroscope. If you were to make a graph of the area in the cosmos that lines up with the poles of the Earth through the toroidal core as it spins from side to side, the path would trace an ellipse through the heavens. To help you visualize this, imagine holding the ball with a hole drilled it from pole to pole and visualize a light shining out from the center of the ball. The light rays will shine in a small straight beam out of the holes in the same way a searchlight from a nighttime beam from a nighttime event in your cities shines against the clouds. You can even think of a rotating searchlight and the path the light traces on the clouds. It will form an ellipse. As you spin the toy from side to side, the light emanated through the holes will trace an ellipse on any object outside the ball. Every time the ellipse crosses a significant emitter of energy, such as a large star, cluster of stars, nebula, quasar, or distant galaxy, the energy lining up with and emanating towards the Earth will change the EM field of the Earth. If the source of energy is very far away or very weak, the change will not be much. However, if the energy is very strong or close to Earth, the effect will be quite noticeable. Because the Earth and solar system are also moving through space in an arc around the center of the Milky Way galaxy, the elliptical path traced by the north and south poles of the Earth will change every precession. Let us explain using only minimal mathematics. The Earth revolves around the Milky Way galaxy approximately every 227 million years. 216 million years when adjusted for variations in velocity and distortions in time and space. This is called the galactic cycle. The completion of one pass of the precession of the axis through all 12 signs of your zodiac represents one precessional cycle of approximately 25,920 years. Once every precessional cycle, the elliptical pattern traced by the toroidal core returns to its starting point. the number of ellipses traced during a galactic cycle will approximately equal 227 million divided by 25,920, or a little over 9,000 precessional cycles. Just in case you still haven't been able to visualize this, think of one of those drawing tools you have that creates spirals and doodles, and imagine a series of small circles orbiting about a large circle, or actually spiral. Since the solar system makes one revolution around the galaxy about every 227 million Earth years, and since 227 million does not go evenly into 25,920, the position of the Earth will be different every time the axis returns to its starting point of gyrations, the precessional alignment. However, because the path formed by the rotation of the solar system around the center of the Milky Way galaxy is so large compared to the ellipses traced by the precessions of the axis, the events that emanate energy toward the Earth at various points in the precession are fairly predictable and stable. In other words, let us suppose that once during each precession, the poles of Earth are roughly aligned with the center of the galaxy. For the next several precessions, the poles will continue to roughly align at the same point at the same time in the cycle. If there are specific EM anomalies that occur every time the poles line up with the galactic center, then these anomalies will occur over several precessional cycles before the position of the solar system is no longer favorable for the alignment. For example, the energies of the galactic core might stream through the poles of the Earth in a particularly strong manner for a dozen or more precessional cycles before the angle of alignment is off sufficiently to weaken the influx of energies. That would mean that every 26,000 years, for about 312,000 years or 12 cycles, there would be major cataclysmic influxes of energy onto the Earth. The period of time representing the exact alignment and ending and beginning of precessional cycles is about 3 days duration in Earth time. The exact midpoint of the next precessional alignment is around 23 GMT on December 21st, 2012, for about 36 hours. Before and after this time, the energies of the alignment will be at maximum, and the portals opened around the Earth will be causing major shifts in souls. Please remember, beloved creators, that the actual rotation of the Earth will not change significantly. The sun will still rise in the east and set in the west, and the days and nights will still be roughly the same length as always. This is an electromagnetic phenomenon, not a gravitational or rotational one. Now, to rephrase all this in metaphysical terms, we could say that each precessional cycle and galactic cycle, precession of the axis and revolution of the solar system around the Milky Way, represent lesson points in a soul's evolution. Every time the precession aligns the Earth with the galactic core, it correlates with another level of soul initiation, or an opportunity to review what the soul has learned since the last cycle. Since everything in this universe operates in spirals, the scenario will change each time the Earth cycles through. So with the approach of the end of the present precessional cycle, slated to occur in your year 2012, Souls will again have an opportunity to align themselves with the energies of the galactic center. EM energies will surge through the core of the Earth and be distributed first along the ley lines and then across the entire surface of the planet. The souls will have another chance to realign themselves and take stock of what they have learned since the last alignment. The region of space through which the solar system passes changes with each precessional cycle. The particular energy fluctuations associated with this current pass-through are significant in that they mark a similar alignment to what was present about 108 million years ago, when the first major wave of individualization began with souls moving out of the Godhead. Therefore, it will seem to many that they are returning home, when in fact they are simply re-experiencing what occurred about 108 million years ago, but on a different leg of the spiral. In actuality, your souls are already home and always have been, even though many aspects of your souls have been journeying among the cosmos since the differentiation from the Godhead. To put this another way, a part of each of you has remained safely with the Godhead, while other parts journey into outer realms and lower densities. One more interesting note: nearly all souls in your universe are less than 227 million years old, in the sense of having individual aspects. Therefore, none of you have ever experienced a full galactic cycle. There's something for you to think about. And sorry, I'm struggling a little bit with my voice. I'm just not used to talking so much and reading this book for hours at a time. And sometimes if something happens and I have to start over, then like my phone overheats or the battery dies or whatever, then I have to start all over. So I lost that. So actually, sometimes I'm reading for 2 hours and I'm just not used to talking so much. Chapter 8: The Galactic Shift. The purpose of this discussion is to familiarize you with the scientific and spiritual nature of the changes taking place upon your world due to the galactic shift occurring between approximately 1950 and 2100, and to illuminate your minds regarding the specific events and energies that are to be anticipated as you approach the year 2012 and beyond. Some of this information is available in part through various channels as well as earthly researchers and scholars, but the exact formulation of the data used here and the introduction and additional data within these messages has never before been presented upon Earth. Almost all of the channeled material present on the Earth deals with the precessional cycle and not the galactic shift. As with all channeled material, we urge your extreme discernment, as none of the information presented herein can be guaranteed to have 100% accuracy, for reasons we have already elaborated upon in previous pages. To review, there is a great deal of knowledge being disseminated upon your world regarding the alignment of the axis of Earth, commonly called the precessional alignment, that occurs approximately every 25,920 years. These recurring cycles happen when your Earth tips its axis at a certain angle relative to a series of quasars near the center of the galaxy that are emanating beams of what you call scalar EM energy into the poles of the Earth. Such energy bursts are distributed along the ley lines and vortexes of the Earth's EM grid system. This process is described in depth in the preceding chapter. The purpose of this additional communication is to go into greater detail on the relationship between the precessional alignment and a much larger and more significant alignment that is not well known by your researchers, called the galactic shift. This shift involves the entire solar system, including your sun and the giant gaseous other planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Your solar system is moving along one of the outer spiral arms of your Milky Way galaxy. Your galaxy, like most spiral galaxies, spins in a manner likened to a pinwheel around the core of highly charged energy commonly known as a central sun. In reality, there are a cluster of suns near the center of your galaxy that form a black hole/white hole combination, linking your galaxy to a sister galaxy of opposite polarity, or what you would call a twin galaxy. This twin galaxy is part of a parallel universe, or mirror universe, that contains matter and energy of opposite polarity to your universe. One of the fundamental laws of physics that your scientists largely agree upon is the law of conservation of energy. This law takes precedence over many of the secondary laws of physics, such as the laws of momentum, space, and time. In other words, black holes, which appear to exist in the centers of many of the galaxies in this local universe, seem to violate the law of conservation of energy when viewed in a conventional manner. Your scientist will one day discover that the existence of a parallel universe of opposite polarity resolves this apparent violation of the law of conservation of energy. You might say that for every black hole there is a white hole of equal and opposite polarity existing in a parallel universe. The two universes, when taken together, exactly balance each other, and you have perfect equilibrium. The reason for our digression into the law of conservation of energy has to do with the fact that some of the energies that your solar system will be encountering as it spins around the central sun of the Milky Way involves emanations from the parallel universe that balances the polarity of your local universe. These energy emanations appear through conventional instrumentation as gamma and X-rays radiating out of the black hole at the center of your galaxy. This radiation, as it intensifies over the next several years, will radically alter the nature of reality for all life forms on the Earth. The energy emanating from the quasars that are aligned with the poles of the Earth during the precessional alignment scheduled to occur on December 20th through 22nd of 2012 is relatively minor compared with the energy emanating from the central sun and its corresponding black hole. The bands of energy the solar system will encounter as it moves through space give rise to what is referred to here as the galactic shift. The galactic shift began in about 1950 and will conclude around 2100. However, it will be increasing in intensity around the same time as the precessional alignment. This larger cycle, the galactic shift, occurs twice during every galactic cycle. A galactic cycle is approximately 216 million years. After adjustment is made for distortions in the time-space continuum and the interaction of dark matter and dark energy, which are really names given to the impingement of the etheric field upon the physical field of matter. Your scientists currently calculate the length of one galactic cycle to be about 227 million Earth years. This is the approximate length of time it takes your solar system to make one revolution around the central sun of your galaxy. After making adjustments for the distortions mentioned above and the variations in velocity between one spiral arm and another, we find that the actual time period in Earth years for a galactic cycle amounts to approximately 216 million years. There are bursts of energy emanating from the parallel universe that are emitted omnidirectionally from the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. However, these bursts are concentrated in two arcs approximately 180 degrees out from each other that are not dependent upon the spin of the neighboring stars. In other words, the stars spinning around the core of the galaxy pass through these emanations twice during each galactic cycle. The arm of a galaxy that contains Earth and the solar system passes through these bands of energy once every 108 million years. Unlike the precessional alignment, it takes longer than 3 Earth days for the solar system to pass through the band of energy known as the galactic shift. The entire duration of the cycle is approximately 150 years, 1950 to 2100. This band of relatively non-polarized electromagnetic energy has been called by many names, including the photon belt and the electromagnetic null zone, although the non-polarized field of EM energy commonly given these names has been postulated to last approximately 3 Earth days. This is incorrect. Only the precessional alignment will last about 3 days. However, during those 3 days, the effects of the non-polarized emanations from the galactic core will be extremely pronounced, far more so than during the entire rest of the galactic cycle. The smaller bursts from the quasars that are aligned with the axis of the Earth are not exactly the same as the energy emanating from the core of the galaxy during the galactic shift. Nevertheless, these two sources of energy will coincide to a large degree during those 3 days in December 2012. This double whammy effect, similar to what your meteorologist would call the perfect storm, will result in enormous changes upon the Earth. Since your language is quite limited and we are attempting to explain this in layman's terms without a lot of fancy scientific terminology, let us phrase the above explanation in yet another manner. Every 25,920 years, the poles of your Earth are tilted such that they align with a group of stars in the constellation of Sagittarius that emit bursts of what is called scalar electromagnetic energy, that is, relatively non-polarized energy. This energy is then distributed along the ley lines or lines of equal electromagnetic force that surround and penetrate the planet. The energy then leaks out from the ley lines into the surrounding regions of the Earth eventually covering the entire Earth with some degree of scalar energy. This entire process is known as the precessional alignment. Every time the Earth goes through the precessional alignment, its position relative to the central sun of the galaxy is different. As stated earlier, there are approximately 9,000 different positions of the Earth relative to the central sun during one galactic cycle. This is the number 227 million divided by 25,920 years. In actuality, the time frames are distorted, and there are about 216 million years in the galactic cycle. So the number of precessional alignments within one galactic cycle is somewhat less than 9,000. About every 108 million Earth years, the solar system goes through what has been called a photon belt or electromagnetic null zone, which is a region of space where large emanations of gamma rays and X-rays from a parallel universe are emanated through the black hole at the center of the Milky Way. These emanations exist everywhere in the galaxy, but are especially concentrated in two areas 180 degrees opposed to each other, emanating outward in opposite directions across the galactic field. This band of emanations is concentrated in a relatively small region of space, but it is a region large enough to affect the Earth, Sun, and neighboring planets for many, many years. This transmission of gamma and X-ray began affecting the Earth significantly in approximately 1950 and will reach its peak around 2015. It will not begin to subside significantly until about the year 2035. It will be well after the year 2100 when the solar system moves completely out of the beam of scalar EM energy emanating from the central sun of the galaxy. This event corresponds to the second divine dispensation described in chapter 2. A dispensation occurs when the Godhead changes the programs of creation in a given sector of the universe. Normally, the cosmic cycles remain fairly constant, but when the Creator sees a critical need to help a group of souls, he will make changes accordingly. The Godhead evaluates the state of consciousness of a group of souls and makes a decision based on that evaluation. It is not a judgment, dear creators. Please be clear on that point. God is incapable of judgment because God is all that is, including the aspects of creation that are still evolving and learning. We suppose you could argue that God, being all that is, includes human beings that are in judgment. But as those souls ascend beyond fourth density, all judgment falls away. As stated in our earlier discourses, there are 12 levels of creation in this local universe, and there are souls currently experiencing all 12 levels. Some souls are incarnated as first density minerals, some as second density plants, others as third density animals, and so forth. The majority of humanoid souls began their evolutionary journey in third and fourth density worlds. When souls are ready to experience the next higher level in their evolutionary spiral, this is likened to an evaluation period followed by a graduation. Graduation periods normally correspond to the ending of cosmic cycles because such cycles act as catalyst for change. They are opportunities for souls to break out of the limiting experience of the realm in which they desire to transcend. Due to the fall from grace, in which souls became trapped in the lower realms, becoming identified with the physical and egoic forms of those lower realms, some souls are ready to move on into the next octave of experience, and some are not. Those that are not ready are given an opportunity to incarnate onto planets that are not in line to transition to the next level of evolution. In other words, they are located in a different part of the galaxy, not going through the shift. You see, dear creators, planets are conscious beings as well, and they too will ascend along a spiral similar to the one in which your souls are ascending. Once again, we remind you that there is no such thing as a judgment day. Nobody and nothing in the higher realms is judging whether or not souls are worthy, although it might appear that the souls leaving Earth during the transition are less worthy than the souls staying and ascending. It is more a matter of soul choice or free will. The requirements of ascension are clearly laid out in the higher consciousness of every soul. It is up to each individual to become aware of what is required in order to ascend. The difficulties in doing this are the main reasons for the divine dispensations. We all live within a just, kind, and loving God. There are an ample number of worlds vibrating at third density that are appropriate to receive the souls that are not ready to transition into fourth density. Most of these planets are far away from the electromagnetic null zone and are not scheduled to move into a catalytic period for quite some time, thus allowing these laggard or wayward souls more time to learn their lessons before preparing to transition to a higher state. To sum up this point, cosmic cycles are catalysts for change. They are triggers for souls to awaken. If souls are not ready to awaken, the shifts frequently serve as exit points, giving such souls an opportunity to attempt to learn their lessons on another world that is possibly more favorable to their rate of learning. Most of the planets set up to receive human souls during these periods of transition are specially equipped with advanced teachers in order to give the laggard souls a greater opportunity to learn their lessons. It is erroneous to assume that all souls will transition during the 3-day period of the processional alignment. Many undoubtedly will use that opportunity to make their transition from one density to another, or to transition out of the earth plane and into the astral realms of another planet in preparation for reincarnation there. However, at this juncture, it appears that a relatively small number of souls will depart the earth or ascend during those 3 days, because the larger galactic shift, the electromagnetic null zone, lasts approximately 150 years. There is ample time for Earth souls to transition while still in the catalytic energies. The processional alignment of 2012 will act as a slingshot for the acceleration of soul evolution. There will be two more such slingshots corresponding to the celestial events detailed earlier. They fall within the 150-year window of the galactic shift, one in 2017 and one in 2030 as indicated above. All these events involve radical evolution or mutation of Earth souls. In the remainder of this chapter and the next, we will explore the various mechanics of the precessional alignment and galactic shift, the nature of the transitions, and the effect they will have on the souls of Earth. Although the events themselves are fairly predictable and easy to explain in ways you can understand, there are numerous variables due to the complex nature of free will upon your world and the souls that are assisting humanity from the various planes and subplanes in and around Earth. For example, there are extraterrestrial souls working from within the fourth density astral planes of Earth that have specific agendas on how to help Earth souls make the transition. Some of these beings are well-intentioned, while others are negatively polarized, or what some groups call service to self with a lowercase s. The various mechanisms and methods being used by these groups to entice souls to follow their specific agendas also need to be examined and are therefore explained in Chapter 10. It seems that beings from all over the universe want to get involved in the planets that are specifically aligned at this time to precipitate massive soul evolution and change. That would include about 24 planets that are entering the electromagnetic null zone at approximately the same time as Earth. Out of millions of worlds with intelligent life that lie within the sector of the galaxy going through the shift, only a small handful find themselves in a unique position in which you find yourselves. The planets within this region of space that are not going through a significant shift either have precessional alignments, are not conducive to such a massive shift, or their species are not sufficiently evolved to take advantage of these catalysts, or their life forms have evolved beyond the need for this cosmic help. The universe operates in perfect balance. The divine dispensations occur precisely at the right time to afford souls the opportunity to follow their highest path of enlightenment. The cosmic cycles are merely catalysts designed to give a boost to the will of souls as they align with the will of the Creator. The Creator's will is to evolve, grow, expand, extend, and diversify in its various expressions. Each cosmic cycle is an opportunity to assist souls in embodying that process. A summary of the shift. For those of you who are clairvoyant, or at the very least highly visual, let us sum up our discussion so far using overly simplified depictions. You have a spiral galaxy, your Milky Way, spinning like a pinwheel, and the solar system, your sun, and other giant gaseous planets, and all the rest, including rogue planetoids and asteroids, all rotating, revolving, and spinning along with the rest of the stars and planets in this outer spiral arm of the galaxy. As these heavenly bodies spin along with the rest of the spiral arm, they encounter a beam of high intensity scalar EM radiation emanating from the central sun of the galaxy. It is as if someone shone a spotlight out from the center into space, and your solar system moves through the beam of the spotlight. However, briefly, only about 150 years in Earth time, and only about 20 years in the most intense part of the beam. As Earth passes through the beam, all life forms upon her, as well as the planet herself, are transformed, translated, and transmuted into the next dimension. How the electromagnetic null zone will affect consciousness. By now, if you have been grasping the ideas put forth in this dissertation, you have probably already reached the logical conclusion to which we are pointing. When an EM field decreases in polarity, it moves those who are involved in this EM field towards the 0 point, or point of no polarity. As souls move into the EM null zone created by the emanations of the central sun of the galaxy, they pass through this photon belt of scalar, non-polarized EM energy. Therefore, they experience moving through a stargate or portal into another dimensional continuum. Since the divine dispensation of the galactic shift that is being implemented on Earth and other relevant planets in this region of space is designed to graduate souls into the next stage of evolution, you will find that the stargates and portals opened up by the EM null zone are upward spiraling or upward converging, meaning that they lead to the next octave of God's creation, which in this case is the higher mental and astral planes of the fourth dimension for Earth and most of her surviving souls, and the etheric plane of the fifth dimension for those souls ascending into crystal-light bodies. Many of you are now vibrating at fourth density, passed through the portal from third density as a result of the practice of meditation. When you quiet your mind sufficiently, the movement of consciousness stops and you enter that portal. You might have a partial entering at first, but as you apply yourself more consistently, you find your entire being shifting into fourth density. The actual passage through the portal involves a quantum jump, but in this world, it appears to happen gradually. In other words, some of your cells appear to mutate into the fourth density vibration before others, although this is really an illusion. There is a critical mass that occurs on the cellular level. When enough cells are aligned or attuned to fourth density, the quantum jump occurs and your entire body begins vibrating at fourth density. This experience in consciousness is usually in the form of an aha or satori that starts you solidly on the spiritual path. For a few brief moments, you have contact with the higher planes and an instantaneous understanding of the oneness of all life. From that moment on, you become conscious creators living in a fourth density vibration, even though some parts of you still appear to vibrate at third density. Remember, dear creators, the words being used here are approximations. Please do not get hung up on the idea that you must vibrate at this or that level. These delineations are given so that the intellectual mind has something to grasp onto during the shift. The reality beyond the words is what is important. Those of you that have been vibrating at fourth density for some time now are consciously preparing to ascend into fifth density. In order to do this consciously, you must collapse the dualities within your own mind. This means seeing only contrasts rather than judgments when you look at the qualities commonly called light and dark, good and evil, positive and negative. A fifth density consciousness is one that sees the divine in everything without judgment. The fastest way to prepare your consciousness for fifth density is to let go of all judgment, comparison, and attachment to duality. The split within humanity. As you know by now, not all souls on earth will pass through the portal into the fifth dimension. In fact, a vast majority of humanity will either disincarnate as Earth approaches the portal, or will move into the fourth density state. They will not be vibrating at a high enough rate to move completely into fifth density. The Earth herself will move through the portal in such a way as to become a fourth density planet existing in a fourth dimensional state of the universe. To adequately explain the interaction of third, fourth, and fifth dimensions upon one another, and to completely describe the third, fourth, and fifth density vibrations of souls involved in the galactic shift, would require detailed, complex diagrams and rigorous mathematics. To the relief of most readers, we will not be translating this material using mathematics. This channel and his primary spirit guide, Leah, have already discussed the metaphysical and spiritual implications of the galactic shift in the numerous channeled messages he has given, both in lecture format and on his website, as well as in the Leah ebook available on the website. In the spirit of refraining from reinventing the wheel, we will only touch upon these matters such as they relate to the science that we are describing. While some of you do not need a scientific explanation of the galactic shift, It is helpful for others and provides some detailed how-tos regarding your abilities to move smoothly through the transition from third density to fourth and fifth. The scenarios unfolding on Earth. Many of the beings who are currently incarnated on Earth have at one time or another been part of the Mars and Maldak civilizations, and they are heavily influenced by the Orions, including the councils of Regal and Betelgeuse. You will find that many of the behaviors of the Orions on Earth are once again paralleling and mirroring the behaviors of the Orions on Mars and Maldak. Maldak was completely destroyed, and Mars's atmosphere was almost completely destroyed. The coming situation on Earth will be far less severe than what happened on Maldak and Mars. The worst case scenario, based on the projected timelines that we are able to see, is that approximately 80% of your population will disincarnate and go elsewhere. This will be due primarily to what is commonly called immune system failure, meaning that the 3D bodies these souls inhabit will cease to mount defenses against the environment and will no longer function properly against invading organisms. Therefore, the human body will cease to function for these souls who choose to move in that direction. How the shifts affect human consciousness. Human beings and all second and third density life forms are largely electromagnetic in nature. The EM force is the most significant of the basic forces of nature with respect to the human life form, and has profound consequences on the physical, emotional, mental, and astral levels of the soul. The EM force originates in what is commonly called the etheric dimension, or the ethers, or aethers, depending on how you translate it. What has been called dark energy and dark matter are actually distortions in the time-space continuum caused by the interaction of the etheric realms on the physical realms. This is why your time and space measurements are flawed. This is why your instruments calculate the duration of one galactic cycle as 227 million years instead of 216 million years. While you have accounted for gravitational fluctuations, including the curvature of time and space, according to Einstein's general theory of relativity, you have not accounted for the fluctuations of the EM fields due to the impingement of the etheric realms on the physical realms. The greatest specific changes you can expect to see as you move into the galactic shift have to do with mutations within the cells of humans and the disruption of technologies. These will not only be precipitated by changes to your Earth, its climate, seasons, and such, but also by significant changes in your sun, which will be discussed in a moment. Let us briefly review the three scenario situation, or the three paths that are most dominant timelines looking into your future. These timelines include the paths of 1. Third density consciousness. which could be called the business as usual path, where souls on earth try to pretend that everything is just as it has been and that there is no need to really change, grow, or evolve. In fact, even the most basic and traditional of your 3D scientists can see that this is a formula for disaster and destruction if this path is chosen, for your fossil fuels will eventually run out and your skies will continue to increase their carbon dioxide content to the point where you will become somewhat like a planet Venus, though not nearly as hot or poisonous. Therefore, it is only those souls that absolutely refuse to grow and evolve and that continue to pretend they will not have to change that will likely lose their bodies. And those are, unfortunately, about 3/4 to 4/5 of your human population. You must understand that the majority of those who will be exiting over the next, shall we say, 25 years will be those who are currently having very difficult lives and physical bodies. Perhaps children who are on the brink of starvation in certain countries will be among those who elect to go, as well as many of those who have become disillusioned but do not see a way of embracing a higher truth. They will create some way of leaving your earth. Now, some of the souls who leave the earth over the next 25 years will likely exit through illness and disease, warfare, starvation, or being in the path of tsunamis, earthquakes, floods, and other climatic disasters that will likely occur in various stages throughout the next 25 or 30 years of your Earth timeline. This is not to say that there will be no souls occupying the 3D Earth after about 2030. It is possible that some 3D souls will remain, but the numbers will be a tiny fraction of what they are at present. These will be souls who are dedicated to moving into fourth density and have soul agreements allowing them to remain on the earth until they make the transition into fourth density. They are the exception rather than the rule. Your present population as of early 2007 is about 6.8 billion. We estimate your population after the year 2030 will be approximately 1.5 billion. Almost all souls remaining on Earth will be vibrating at fourth density. Most of those 3D souls that exit will take up residence on other planets that are more suitable to their level of vibration. Those that remain will move into the fourth density human form. The number of souls choosing the third density path will likely be between 4 and 5 billion. This information is available through multiple sources on your world and is continuously being given by celestial groups, including the Galactic Federation, so we will not spend any more time on it now. 2. The fourth density scenario. Those that are able to withstand the frequency change but are not able to go completely through the Stargate into the fifth dimension will find themselves in the fourth dimension, which is the dimension of thought and time. To a fourth density being living in a fourth dimensional time-space continuum, life seems quite similar to third density except that such souls are aware that they are conscious creators and that consciousness creates their experience of reality. They learn to create from the center of their being outward, and the world they see is an enlightened paradise that reflects their higher state of consciousness. This is the golden age spoken of by many of your prophets. Fourth density humans remaining with the earth will create intentional, self-sufficient spiritual communities of light in the safe places on earth where they will flourish and thrive. They will create what the Hopi call the fifth world. Pangea is the first, Lemuria the second, Atlantis the third, and the rapidly declining present civilization, the fourth world. The number of souls choosing the fourth density path will likely be between 1 and 2 billion. 3. The fifth density scenario. Those that are able to move completely into fifth density will experience the fifth dimensional version of Earth. Like yourselves, Earth is a multi-dimensional being of light manifesting as a planet rather than a humanoid or star. Her dominant frequency will move from third to fourth density, and so those of you who go through ascension will essentially be fifth density beings living on a fourth density world, or shall we say fifth density beings living in the fourth dimension. You will also have the ability to experience the fifth dimensional version of Earth simultaneously. Again, we apologize for the limited scope of your language, as this is not the most ideal way to describe it. As fifth density beings living in the fourth dimension of time-space, you will have certain advantages over the fourth density beings living in the fourth dimension. While they will still grow old and die, reincarnating over and over as fourth density beings until they ascend off the wheel of reincarnation, you will be in your immortal crystalline light bodies. For a while you will still be visible to fourth density humans, but eventually you will increase your frequency sufficiently to become invisible even to fourth density. Only the clairvoyant and telepathic members of the Golden Age will be able to interact with you at this point. As fifth density teachers and way showers, you will guide and instruct the leaders of the fourth density world in the ways of spirit, love, and compassion. You will also interface with the enlightened ETs that will come and go openly from the earth plane. Many of the ETs currently assisting Earth are already vibrating at fourth and fifth densities, and it will become very easy for them to interact with humans on Earth after the shift. In Chapter 11, we will detail more of the more prevalent experiences souls are likely to have as they move into fifth density Earth. The number of souls likely to choose the fifth density timeline are between 10 million and 30 million. In Chapter 10, we will go into greater depth on the role and function of the ETs, angels, and ascended masters and how they will assist as Earth goes through the galactic shift. Specific changes to your solar system. We will now detail some of the specific changes you will see on your planet, as well as the ongoing changes to your sun and outer gaseous planets of your solar system. The information we are giving in this section can be easily verified by studying the scientific data gathered by your researchers. While we do not give much credit to your governments in general, they are playing a helpful role in disseminating some of this information. Changes to Earth's electromagnetic field. Please recall that your physical north and south poles are not the same as your EM north and south poles. The rotation of your Earth, although it has an effect on the EM fields of your Earth, is completely different from the movement of the polarities. Approximately every 680,000 years, as documented by many of your scientists, the EM polarities of the Earth reverse themselves. In essence, the north magnetic pole becomes the south magnetic pole, and the south magnetic pole becomes the north magnetic pole. Meanwhile, your Earth continues to rotate as usual, with no significant speeding up or slowing down of its rotation, nor does the rate of tilt of the axis change very much during these EM shifts. The angle of tilt of the axis is important, however, because of the precessional alignment that greatly augments and affects the galactic shift. As stated previously, the precession of the axis repeats itself within fairly accurate precision about every 25,920 years, and the point of conjunction between the current and previous precessional alignments is accurate to within a few seconds of a minute of a degree each cycle. Each time the axis aligns with the quasars near the center of the galaxy, the region of space through which the energy bursts are transmitted varies slightly. If you cut the galaxy up into 360 degrees by making a circle around the spiral arms, and then divide 360 by approximately 9,000, the number of precessional alignments during one revolution of the solar system around the central sun of the galaxy, you have the difference in position of the solar system with respect to the central sun between each precessional cycle. This partially explains why some of the precessional alignments cause a complete pole reversal, while others cause only a small shift in the location of the EM poles. In the current precessional cycle, scheduled to peak on December 21st, 2012, the poles will shift radically but are unlikely to reverse themselves completely. This channel has correctly pointed out that you can obtain detailed records of the position of your EM north and south poles on an annual basis. If you have a computer available next to the book, you can refer back and forth between this material and the website the channel is referencing above. As indicated by the artwork, it is a very significant influence. Your scientists attribute most of the variations in the magnetic poles to the movement of the iron core of the Earth. While this is definitely a contributing factor, the precessional alignment and the fluctuations in the sun due to the galactic shift account for a significant portion of the accelerating magnetic pole shifting occurring now on the Earth. The channel pointed out to us that in the 11th diagram showing the effects of solar radiation on the EM fields of Earth, the government site actually admits that solar flares emitting from the sun cause major shifts in Earth's environment. It often amazes us how the majority of humans refuse to acknowledge what is presented right in front of them while they cling to their business as usual philosophy. Although this series of messages is conjured primarily within the galactic shift, concerned primarily with the galactic shift and processional alignment, there are many other cycles in your world and universe, including the one your scientist pinpointed that occurs about every 680,000 years. We will not take time to elaborate on these other cycles at this time, but it is important to be aware of the precision inherent within the creation. Returning to our discussion of the processional alignment, it is evident that the changes experienced every 25,920 years vary greatly from cycle to cycle. Some of the destruction of land masses, ice ages, and other cataclysmic changes that have occurred on Earth during past civilizations have corresponded with the 680,000 year pole reversals, and some have occurred during other cycles that have great polar fluctuations but without complete pole reversal. Your Earth has gone through over 40 galactic shifts, each of 108 million years duration, depending on when you define the Earth as a stable planet. Earth was largely gaseous during the first few shifts and did not significantly stabilize until approximately 4.5 billion years ago. Life as you know it, the emergence of second density consciousness in the form of plant life, did not begin to form until approximately 3.8 billion years ago. You will note when studying the history of your planet that only a few of the galactic shifts had cataclysmic results radically affecting the evolution of the Earth. The galactic shifts themselves, while having a significant impact when combined with the processional alignment, do not automatically by themselves signal a massive change in the geology and meteorology of the Earth. What they do portend, however, is a massive shift in the biological life forms on Earth, as well as the technological inventions of the more evolved of the species, namely humanity. We are not including the dolphins and whales in our discussion because they do not have sophisticated technological devices. And when we return, my friends, we will pick it up at changes to your sun during the shift. We leave you in the love, unity, and light of the infinite Creator.